Hello everyone and welcome to the round 14 trade targets and preview stream for NRL SuperCoach 2024. Hopefully you're all doing well. Sorry, I'm just adjusting the microphone. Hopefully you all can still hear me okay. Good to see so many of you already in the chat. Amazing as always. Vahe, Jake Young, Flarbets, Simixes, Jonathan Davis, Nathan Pup, Jack, Jason Yang as always. Shifter Pod. When is he going to start? Here I am. I've started 8:33. 3 minutes past when I said I would. Still fixing my hair? Absolutely not. My hair is always perfect. There's nothing to fix. From Paul, Moz, Jonathan Davis, Zay X Flowers. Good to see a lot of you here already. Obviously a big week with Origin tomorrow, and I will preface a lot of what we say today is going to be dependent on what happens tomorrow night in New South Wales versus Queensland. So we kind of will have a lot of discussion around, caveats of like if this happens or this doesn't happen, how does that then affect potential trade plans, with Nicho Hynes, Fafita and the like. But we'll still discuss a lot of other players who are unaffected by Origin and some of the better buys for this week and who are the ones that you're looking to get rid of. Jack, a member for 1 month, very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Lawrence Heyman, Alex Palmer, let's go. Hamish Hunter, very, very nice comment here. Looking cute, Aman. Cute. Yeah, I am. Thank you. I appreciate being called cute. I am going to the game tomorrow night as well, which is awesome. So I will hopefully be cheering on a New South Wales victory. Apologies, actually, you know what? I don't apologize to Queensland fans, because look, you guys had plenty. I grew up with 8 in a row. So I was actually talking to a colleague about this. I was like, he was like, I hope we win. And I said, look, I was numb by the 5th series win in a row. The first 4 happened. By the 5th one, I was just my internet provider today. So I called them, I spoke to them about this and got into a different plan, which is supposedly better. Still not fixed. It's ridiculous. I'm with Aussie Broadband as well. So Aussie Broadband is supposed to be one of the best, but I don't know, it seems to be having an issue. Got a new TV. Maybe that's the issue. I have no idea. But look, it's saying excellent connection. It says I'm back. So we'll plow ahead. Like on Sunday, I did the stream and there was 0 issues. And I think it's because I was the only one at home when I did the stream. So I think there was nothing else on except for this laptop. I think when other devices seem to be jumping on, they do tend to interfere with things. But look, I'm back now. I'm back. Apologies for that, guys. The microwave. It's definitely not the microwave. It could be the TV. Could be the new TV. But anyway, we'll crack on. And fingers crossed it doesn't keep happening. If it does, then we'll fix it up from... We'll sort it out again. Last week, what did I do? I hotspotted myself for the entire stream, and that seemed to fix things in the end. So we've got a backup plan, which is my mobile data from my mobile phone. Very quickly, looking at how I went last week. So pretty good week, 963. Could be the laptop. Yeah, I don't think it's my laptop because this is the same laptop that I used at my old place. So I don't think it's the laptop. I think it's the new internet plan that I'm on. I might need to get like a Wi-Fi range extender. That might be the thing I need, because I think the internet plan itself is good. It could just be the maybe I'm not getting as much from the router itself. Anyway, internet issues aside, which always seems to be a common theme in my streams. So of course, give the stream a like if you guys are enjoying it. The washing machine was run early in the day today. We are not running it. Microwave is turned off. Everything should be turned off. Let's see how we go. Maybe listen to Ben and get Starlink. Yeah, look, I'll look into Starlink. I know you mentioned it to me, Benny. So I'll have a look at it in terms of maybe a different internet provider. Be bold demand. Yeah, you did tell me to get onto Twitter very, very early back in the day, and back in the day, you told me to get onto Twitter, and that was a great move in the end, so maybe I should listen to you again. In terms of my team, I'm doing pretty good now. I had a few good green arrows, so up to like 4.5k now. So pretty happy with that in terms of ranking, but unimportant. I just want to speed through and make sure I get through everything important, which my ranking probably isn't as important. Very quickly, I guess, on TLT, so mentioned it already, Origin is going to be a huge impact for this week, so a lot of teams have named their Origin players, the likes of Brisbane, the Dragons. They have named their Origin players, but we have to obviously wait and see what happens with tomorrow in terms of the minutes played, any potential injuries. The Cowboys haven't actually named any of their Origin players, the likes of Val Holmes, Cotter, etc. But I think Cowboys typically do back up most of their Origin players. So I hopefully have a feeling that they will back up. I do need Val Holmes to back up for me in my team to get to a full 17. I guess some other news, people were looking at, I think someone early in the chat stream actually had asked Justin Matamor from Simixes. Yeah, so we'll definitely talk about Matamor as well. He could be a potential downgrade. For the Warriors, there was no SJ, so that's obviously pretty big. But CNK has been named at fullback and AFB is back for anyone who held on to him. Other things, so the big one obviously was Nicho Hynes. Hasn't been named at all by the Sharks, so he's not going to be playing at all this week. So obviously big discussion around him. Harry Grant has been named to back up, which I'm hopeful for. Should only be playing maximum, you'd think 45 minutes with him and Ben Hunt splitting minutes. David Armstrong has been named, which is good. We were concerned that maybe he would get dropped. Fletcher Sharp is on the extended bench, but he has also been there for the last few weeks as well. So I don't think it's not like it's a new thing this week that Fletcher Sharp has been named on the extended. He's been there the last couple of weeks. So fingers crossed Armstrong we get. People who maybe were looking at Penrith Panthers halfback downgrades. Jack Cole was named over Brad Schneider, and that's how the current team is named. Penrith are another team who've actually also named their Origin players. So Jack Cole seems to me maybe slightly ahead in the pecking order if anyone's still looking at him as a downgrade. Also, surprisingly, Dylan Edwards is actually named in the extended reserves for Penrith. So, obviously we still don't really have a good idea on the timeline for his injury, but if he is already on the extended bench, maybe he's not going to be back that far away. So that's definitely something worth considering. Karaz back on the wing is awesome for anyone who owns him, like myself. Blaise Talangi starting centre for the Eels now that Bailey Simonson is out for the rest of the season. So that's probably good for his job security. I guess Morgan Harper is a threat, but Talangi's look pretty good. So I figure he'll stay there. Also with Parramatta, Sean Lane is on the bench still, and Kelma Tuolangi is starting again. A couple of people may be looking at him because he's had two pretty decent weeks. Other things I didn't mention in this particular tweet as well, but yeah, Brendan Hands has been named again to start, and there's no Joey Lussick in the 17, so that's good for anyone looking to bring in Hands. And from Manly, something I failed to mention in my tweet, but Kula, who was playing fullback, he's actually been named at centre, and Hopewati has actually been named at fullback, so not good for anyone who was holding on or had bought Kula recently, because it looks like Hopewati for the time being is going to play fullback while Turbo is out of that Manly team. So yeah, not great there. But that's kind of a quick wrap up, I guess, of TLT, and obviously mentioned that a lot of teams and backup players will be very dependent on what happens with Origin. What I wanted to quickly start off with, also I did put a poll in the chat, which is still there in terms of the running order. For feeder and second row forwards is the first thing. So we'll discuss that first after I talk a little bit about broader draw and schedule. I guess one of the things I want to flag is that, we've just come out now out of round 13. So what we need to be prioritizing now is kind of rounds 14, 16, 19, and also still concentrating on those mini bye weeks of round 17 and round 20. This week also being a mini bye week. So I've got a better draw over the next 6 weeks. So that's round 14 until round 19, call it 20 as well. I've got the Titans at number 1. This is a reason why Fafita is so heavily traded in this week and looks very tempting. Got a really nice run with Rabbitohs, West Tigers, Warriors. Does have the bye in round 17, then Sharks, Parramatta, Manly. I won't go through every single team, but some of the top ones I've got there Sharks players. So people looking at Mulatalo. Roosters, obviously not relevant for this week, but we all loaded up on them last week. Melbourne, a lot of people looking at Eli Katoa, Jerome Hughes. I've got them ranked 4th. They cover round 16, don't play round 19, but it's a really nice run up until round 19. So there's a really good reason to have the likes of a Jerome Hughes and an Eli Katoa both doubled up potentially. Then you've got the Rabbitohs. Again, very, very useful because, people are looking at the likes of Latrell Mitchell. Maybe, let's say New South Wales lose, or let's say New South Wales win and Latrell doesn't look likely to play Origin. He would cover then round 16. He would cover round 19, which is, I think, going to be the more difficult bye week. If you just look at your team, you're more likely, I think, going to be better set up for 16 than you are round 19. The fact that Latrell plays both of these rounds and is almost a season keeper, goal-kicking, gun fullback, averaging, I think, 79, despite Rabbitohs having a pretty poor season. He looks like a great trade and target this week. So people looking at who've got maybe not Drinkwater, but like Dylan Edwards or Reece Walsh, Latrell is definitely looking like a prime candidate. And maybe a couple of other pods, Kolomatangi in second row forward, maybe even Cody Walker. I'll probably round it out. The other two teams I wanted to mention, I'll skip Parramatta, but Manly is definitely really important now because Manly do cover round 16 and round 19 as well. They do have that mini bye in round 17, but I've got them ranking not that high. It's Penrith this week, but it could be Penrith without Origin players. And then what you're looking at is Dragons, Rabbitohs, a bye, Cowboys, Newcastle, Titans. That's a pretty good draw. And I think as soon as you skip past this Penrith game, I'd be pretty confident saying that they would jump a lot higher in this kind of draw rating. So, immediately I think of Ruben Garrick, for example. I think as a gun center wing, he's someone who I would definitely be wanting to try to get into my team. Doesn't have to be this week, but someone I'd probably ideally want to be having because he'll be very heavily owned, captained maybe even in round 16 as well, and maybe even round 19 to get against the Knights at home. The other team I wanted to mention were the Tigers. So Tigers are really useful from a draw point of view now because for covering buys, they don't have another bye until round 26. So if you get West, I think they're the only team. I'm pretty sure looking at this schedule, they are the only team that between rounds 14 to round 20 will play every single game. So they cover every bye week and they will cover every mini bye week as well. So, Galvin, for example, I just think I'm going to keep him for the remainder at least of this bye period, just as a steady hold. He's locked into that team. Samuel Lafanu, who I've already got as well, 450k, 415k, not that expensive. Dual second row forward, front row forward, playing 80 minutes. I like him as well as a nice little coverage pick during this period. Api Coruscant, you can see what happens with New South Wales, but he's another one. So that's the other team I wanted to touch on, was the Tigers. And so I kind of wanted to give a quick summary, I guess, on that in terms of where we are now in terms of the buys. So I think the teams that I'm looking at really, that are very crucial, the ones that cover round 16 and round 19, those are Titans, Rabbitohs, Manly, Tigers, and then the Dolphins, obviously. So, I had someone on Twitter ask me, is Asako a sell? Asako hasn't been that great the last few weeks. I think he's got a 3-round average of 57. But I'm just looking at it as when we're looking at being short on numbers, yes, the Dolphins don't have a very good draw, but they do cover 16 and 19. And 16 is against the Dragons. So Asako could be a captaincy shout as well. So I'm trying to not sell guys who are going to be available for me in the next future weeks. But that's a bit of a summary on that one. I guess the other chart I had, which I had shown from last week and the last few weeks before, was around the backup periods for certain Origin players. Probably don't need to spend a heap of time on this because I think, we've it's understood now in terms of who's actually been selected for Origin. And also we've gone past round 13. So I think what we'll do is we'll get onto the second row forward chat first, because I think that was the most popular category that people had voted for. After that, we can get onto the Nicho Hynes stuff. So I guess the biggest question with second row forward is, Angus Crichton. So I haven't got actually the NRL SuperCoach website up in front of me, given I was trying to just manage my own stream, making sure that stayed alive. But if I look at the top 10 most traded in and traded out, the most popular trade of the week is Angus Crichton to Dave Fifita. Angus is the most traded. He's the third most traded out player, and Fifita is the number one most traded in player. So obviously a lot of people are looking at second row forwards and looking at Fifita. So I guess with Fifita, so just covering him, look, as we said already, it really comes down to what happens with Origin. If Queensland lose and pretty unconvincing, maybe there's issues with, say, especially in the edges, if there's an issue with Nanai or Jaden Sewer, then someone like Fifita, I think, is just going to be such a prime candidate to jump back into that Queensland team. So I guess there's two scenarios here. Fifita goes back into Origin and plays game 2, game 3, or he misses the entire series. If he misses the entire series, he will be playing 6 of the next 7 weeks, and the only week that he'll be missing is round 17, but he would be covering round 16 and 19, and as I showed earlier, I've got the Titans number 1 at the moment for a draw over the next few weeks. All signs pointing to Fifita is almost a must-have in this position. And so I think, see what happens tomorrow night, and if it looks like Queensland win, doesn't seem like they're going to change the team, a move like Angus to Fifita, I think, look, selling Angus, I don't love it, because Angus has proven to be really good this year, but he does miss a fair few games. He'll miss his 14, 16, and then 19, and then could play reduced minutes in round 17 and round 20, versus a Fifita who's playing 6 of the next 7, 80 minutes with a great draw. To me, that's a move I'd say, yep, go ahead, because I've done the whole points calculation thing. If Fifita just scores his season average and plays all of those games that I mentioned, he will score 516 total points compared to someone like an Angus, who I've given him his season average of 83, and I'm not accounting for any reduced scores because of backups. He scores 332. That's almost 200 points difference. Like, that's quite a big difference, right? Like, so when I think about it that way, I think, yep, an Angus to Fifita move makes sense. If Fifita is called back into that Queensland team, hypothetically, he would then miss 16, 17, and 19. So that's then you're looking at he would miss 2 extra games. So you're looking at then he plays 4 of the next 7. He'd play 14, 15, 18, and 20. Even still, 4 of the next 7, I'm starting to think even 4 of the next 7 is like almost enough of a risk, because if you think about his season average of 86, if we just do 86 times 4, that's still more than the 332 points that Crichton would get. And if you've got the list of second row forwards that I've got for anyone who's listening on podcasts, I've got Crichton, DeBellin, Preston, Eli Katoa, Fifita, Koloamatangi, and Bryce Cartwright. So really, Fifita and Angus are the only 2 Origin affected guys here. I don't think any of the others are going to be in the Origin contention. Even Fifita scoring, say, 330 points, he still outscores DeBellin. He still outscores Preston. He's very close to matching Koloamatangi, and he outscores Cartwright. So it's still really only Katoa who outscores him. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that even if Fifita does play Origin, games 2 and games 3, I still think if he plays 4 of the next 7, still with those really good games where he can easily go 90, 100 plus, I still almost think he's worth the trade in. So you can wait and see what happens. If you're really uncertain, you could maybe try to hold off and wait until round 16 and say, I just want absolute certainty that he's not going to play for Queensland game 2 before then I trade him in. So that's definitely a strategy you can do if you want to still capitalize with the Titans. You know, Beau Fermor's got like a 76, I think, 3-round average. I think Flarbets is mentioned here. Thoughts on Fermor as an option? He's just a little bit, he's not necessarily expensive. He's 608k. There are plenty of other more expensive second row forwards. But I guess I'm looking at it as I still almost want Fifita. But if you've already got Fifita and you're looking at maybe just adding to your second row forward stocks, I haven't actually got his stats here, but say he goes even back to a 65 average, plays 6 of the next 7 games. What's that? 360, 370 points. Like, that's still a lot better than a lot of these other guys that I've got here. Now, I am using season averages for guys. Obviously, that doesn't quite necessarily always pan out. You know, I have looked at their 3-round averages as well. So when you look at 3-round averages, some players do then outscore Fifita. But I guess the other thing is Fifita is the type of guy who you're going to definitely want for the rest of the year. You may as well maybe try to capitalize on getting him in. And if you want to sell Nicho Hynes this week to free up that money, yeah, look, I don't hate at all getting in Fifita. There's obviously some risk, but based on my number crunching, his potential, even if he only plays 4 of the next 7, still think Fifita is absolutely worth it. Someone did ask me Fifita or Katoa on Twitter. I think if you're really 50-50 between the two, I would just go Katoa for safety, because you know Eli Katoa is not playing Origin at all. He's a Kiwi, covers round 16, doesn't play round 19, but he does play 6 of the next 7 as well, and that's an absolute guarantee. It's a pretty good draw as well for Melbourne. He's got a season average of 70, season average of 75, a 3-round average of 91. And I like that Hughes is kind of going to be running more of the team for the Melbourne Storm. And I think, I've said it many times, I think that's always better for Katoa if he's running off Jerome Hughes and profiting a lot from him. So with Katoa, if I give him his season average score over the next bye period, he's got 450 points, which is clear of all the other back rows except for Fifita. So assuming they both play 6 of the next 7, it's Fifita number 1, Katoa number 2. But if you're really 50-50 and you're not wanting to take that gamble on Fifita because of the Origin risk, I would say just go get Eli Katoa. He is the obvious one, but in my head, it's obvious for a reason. And in terms of 3-round averages, Katoa is killing it. 93 3-round average. So someone's asking, so a couple of people are actually saying, do I prefer Cartwright or Koloamatangi? Tool Pro saying it. Charlie Wilkinson is saying it as well. So quickly on those two. So Koloamatangi's been probably more consistent in that he's pretty much been banging out like 50s all season. And then he's had 2 games where he scored over 100. Rabbitohs do have a pretty good draw. I guess you could say maybe he's a threat for potentially playing Origin, but I think that's a low risk in my opinion. I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised if he gets into that New South Wales team. I think there's plenty of other back rows probably not going to be a position where they're going to say, oh, we're going to have to make wholesale changes. I guess it's probably going to be more in the spine. So Koloamatangi versus Cartwright. I guess Koloamatangi, one thing that might benefit him is that I don't know where he's been named again this week, but he has been playing some middle, so maybe he eventually gets front row forward dual. That could be handy. They're both, Koloamatangi is 80k more expensive. He does have a negative break even. I think it comes down to, Koloamatangi will play round 16, round 19. Cartwright only plays round 19 for you. And I do think that the Rabbitohs have got a better run. In terms of base power, he's actually got a better base power average as well than Cartwright. He's got 58 over the season versus Cartwright 45. Cartwright is going to be more likely for attacking stats. He's going to be better with Mitch Moses back in that team as well. But I know Koloamatangi has been a little bit meh this season, but I still think, 584k, yes, look, he's 80k more expensive, but he can have these games where he goes 100 plus. Sorry, he's actually only had the one game where he's gone over 100. He had a game early in the season where he got 98. But apart from that, looking at 51, 55, 52, 50, 53, if you're getting him at 584k and he's at worst getting you 50, I don't think you can really complain with that. And after round 17, Rabbitohs have no more buys. So you've got him for the rest of the season. With Cartwright, I still think, I think there's no job security risk with Bryce Cartwright, but he does have another buy in round 16 and he doesn't have another one in round 20. Round 20 is going to be another tricky mini bye week. So I think there's enough things there where I'm looking at it where I think Koloamatangi is probably more consistent, probably slightly better draw over the next few weeks, better base power. He's probably be the one I'd lean towards. Someone is asking, would I hold Cotter? I think it depends. If you've got Cotter in second or forward, I think I'd be happy to trade him because Cowboys have got a pretty favourable schedule for their origin players. So if I quickly just circle back to that. So if you look at the Cowboys, they were already missing round 16 and round 19. So I don't think that there was going to be, their origin players were already going to miss out. And they have a pretty decent turnaround time. They've got a 3-day turnaround after this game tomorrow. Then it's 4 and 4 after game 2 and game 3. I think someone like a Ruben Cotter, he could easily back up, I think, 1 or 2 of those games. So Cotter to me doesn't scream must sell. If he's in your front row forward, I probably definitely wouldn't sell just because front row forward options are very limited. In the back row though, I can maybe see more of a point if it's to get to like an Eli Katoa or a Fafita because he's been fine. He's not been shooting the lights out versus someone like a Katoa who I think is, if I think of my top 3 second row forwards that I want, ideally, if I could build my perfect team, it would be Angus Crichton, Fafita and Eli Katoa. They would be my 3 second row forwards I think I'd want. Cotter's fine. He's not at a bad price at 615k. I think you could sell. In terms of the other back rows that I mentioned, so Jack de Belin is a very solid one who does play round 19. He's a little bit expensive at 640k. I do think for a cheaper price, I would actually maybe take a Beau Fermor. Better draw, probably better upside than him. And Kieran Foran is back as well for the Titans, so should help them out too. And I like Jacob Preston as well for the next few weeks. I've kind of had a lot of thoughts on him. If you go back to the Sunday stream, I mentioned him quite a lot. But yeah, he's pretty good in terms of his role for the next few weeks. Covers round 16, doesn't cover round 19. So I guess you need to just look at your numbers and see which of the bye rounds are you going to be more deficient in. And that's the one I think you should be prioritizing. That's why someone like a Koloamatangi is good. He covers both the 16 and 19. Cartwright's only good for round 19, but maybe not for round 16. So I'd probably factor that into your thinking. But I think that probably rounds out a lot of the chat on second row forwards. We've kind of spoken about Angus, Fafita, Katoa, etc. I don't think I'm going to go through trade plans at the end of the stream just because I'm so heavily dependent on what happens tomorrow. There'd be so much of me saying, but if this happens, but if that happens, it's probably better if I just tell you all what I'm thinking post origin. But definitely Fafita is very high on my wish list, I think, for this week. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I guess in terms of the sell that I've listed, Smithies, I think on a buy, yeah, you can definitely get rid of him. Only 40 points last week, pretty underwhelming. Joe Chan, if you can somehow just offload him to anyone. We have got a section on downgrades later, so maybe that's where you can get your Joe Chan replacement. And then Angus Crichton, not a great sell, but I'm looking at it as if you can afford to trade him out and maybe trade him back in, then yes, I'd be perfectly happy to sell Angus because I still think you'd miss not perfectly happy. Obviously, ideally, I'd want to keep him, but he's going to be missing enough games, I think, where it's probably maybe worthwhile. Jackson Ford, he was named at prop. Had a few down weeks. I'm going to admit, I remember early in the season, someone had, this is way, way back early in the season, and I'm pretty sure I recommended Jackson Ford over Eli Katoa because he was killing it at the beginning of the season. But then he's really, pretty much as soon as the Warriors started going into a slump, so did he. Look, he's averaging 61 for the year, 63 in base against the Dolphins. At his price at 533k, he'll be fine. He covers 16, but he doesn't cover around 19. So again, I'd maybe chance it. And Warriors, actually, one thing with Warriors players, if you're looking at bringing in, I know we're talking way, way down the track. Warriors players miss out in round 27. So that very, very last week of the year, the Warriors have a bye. And we know that week there's plenty of restings and whatnot. So again, this is really nitpicky, but this is the kind of things that you probably need to be doing when you're thinking about all of these different options and how to separate them. I would hate to have a Jackson Ford missing out for me in the very last week of the year, at least with the Kolomatangi after the bye in round 19. I don't think they'd miss another game for the rest of the year. So at least you know that you can kind of just, barring injury, you can just set and forget him for the year. And I think we're at that point now with trades where you kind of need to be thinking about that kind of stuff. Would you trade Gus or Piakura to Fafita? I mean, look, if you can afford to keep Gus and sell Piakura to Fafita, I'd be doing that. You're obviously using a lot of money to do that. So you just have to be wary of, by using that money, are you sacrificing somewhere else in your team? On the Nicho Hynes chat, so I think this is obviously probably the next biggest question of the week. Is there a Nicho Hynes segment for those of us who still own him? Cyril, your wish has been granted. I am the genie. Yes, for sure. How could I not have a section about Nicho Hynes? He was such a big talking point. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith in me. Surely have some faith that I'll prepare something. But yeah, so Nicho Hynes, so he's 984k, 193 break even. So obviously really, really high. Not named this week. So in terms, again, I'm doing this kind of whole point scoring category over the next few weeks for most of the positions that we're looking at, just because I think it's a good way of seeing okay, if I sell this guy, how much more can I gain during this buy period? Again, this is very dependent. If the New South Wales team wins tomorrow, it looks pretty good. There's two scenarios with Hynes. The scenario one is that he plays all 3 Origin games because New South Wales look good. So do you get 2 more wishes? Nah, you get 1 wish, Cyril. How do I get such a sick flow? Are you saying I've got sick flow in terms of I've just got a good flow going on? I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, so with Nicho Hynes, there's 2 scenarios. He plays all 3 Origin games, in which case, absolutely, I think he is a sell. Well, I say that so convincingly. You always definitely want to make sure you get Hynes back. But over the next few weeks, you can definitely gain so much by selling him if he's going to play all 3 Origin games. Because he will miss round 14, 16, 17, 19, and 20. Yes, he does have good games in between all of those. 15 is against the Dolphins. What else do we have? Oh, I've put him down for missing 17. That's assuming that he doesn't back up. So he does have a scheduled game. But look, with Hynes and his turn, the Sharks have already shown that they're going to be conservative with him. In terms of the turnaround time so with round 17, it's only a 2-day turnaround for the Sharks versus Bulldogs game after game 2. So that's a 2-day turnaround. I think there's probably a fair chance that they wouldn't risk Hynes after that game either. So I think it's probably fair to say, yes, he maybe misses round 17. Then he would miss round 19 because of game 3, and then the Sharks have a bye in round 20. So that's 5 games that he'd be missing. So you'd only be getting round 15, 17, and 18. And even then, I've actually given him 17 in this table as a score. You actually need to correct that. So you effectively could just be getting 2 games over the next 7 weeks of Hynes. This is why he is the most sold player, because so many people are just looking at this thinking he's going to miss so many games. So I can definitely get on board with that. Even if he scores 85 in those 2 games, you're looking at 170 points. If you look at some of the replacements that we've got, like Mitch Moses, Jerome Hughes being probably the 2 main ones for this week, maybe a Sam Walker from next week onwards, I've got them down for 340, 320, 414 points, versus the 170. That's a big points differential there. So, if you look at a trade like that, combine that with Fafita, say for Angus, yes, you're trading out big guns, but you're gaining 350 points potentially over the next bye week. And it could always be more than that. I'm just giving people their season averages. It could obviously also be less. So, there's a typo there. Wishart's break even is not 144. Thanks for correcting that, Swift AU. That was just a copy paste error. Wishart, I think, has got like a 46. He's got a 38 break even. There you go. I'll fix that. Thank you. So yeah, with Hynes, for sure, I think there's definitely an argument to sell. If he plays poorly, New South Wales lose tomorrow. The second scenario is that he misses game 2 and game 3. Then he would only be missing round 14, 16, and 20. So he'd be available for 15, 17, 18, and then 19. All of a sudden, the equation completely flips, because then you're saying, okay, he actually plays 4 of the next 7, and it's very similar to Fafita, which is, in those 4 weeks, he can absolutely do damage given the matchups that he's got. If New South Wales lose tomorrow, God forbid, and he plays poorly, Mitch Moses, the way that he came back last week, I think he would be one where they'd say, look, if New South Wales don't play very well and Hynes is a big part of that, you can easily see Moses getting rushed back into that New South Wales team. And then all of a sudden, I'm thinking, even though he misses this week, there's probably not a chance I would sell Hynes, just because I definitely want him during this period. So my feeling is that we're more likely to get scenario 1 than scenario 2, just because I think Hynes is a quality player and I think he'll be able to hold his own in Origin. So I think for that reason I'd say yes, sell. But again, we need to caveat this with, let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's hope New South Wales don't lose tomorrow. Yeah, look, selfishly, I do want to sell Nicho Hynes, because it's a weird one. This is terrible. If Queensland lose, that means Fafita is more likely to get into that Queensland team. But if New South Wales lose, then Hynes is more like, I want New South Wales to win, but it means Fafita could be a risk, but I might just get Fafita anyway. So some of the trades that I'm looking at this week is selling Nicho to free up money, and that lets me get Fafita. Like, that's probably a very popular thing that I think a lot of people are doing, which is what I'm also thinking about doing this week. In terms of the best replacements, as I touched on, Moses, I think, is a risk to get into that New South Wales team again for game 2 and for game 3. Even if you exclude that, let's say Moses doesn't get back into that Origin squad. So he plays 5 of the next 7 weeks. He plays 14, 15, and then it's 17, 18, 19. So he doesn't play round 16. And so given his season average of 68, he'd be scoring 340 points. If you give him his 3-round average of 79, he'd be scoring 395 points. Compare that to, say, Jerome Hughes. He plays 6 of the next 7, and also he's got no risk of going into Origin. So 69 average he's got for the season, that would give him 414 points over the next 7 weeks. If you look at his 3-round average, which is slightly lower at 64, you're looking at 384 points. So he beats Moses on season average. He loses by 10 points on 3-round average. I didn't bother going into 5-round averages because I feel like that's probably enough number crunching for you all. But I'm looking at it as like it's close enough, and he plays the extra game, and he plays round 16 versus round 19, so at least he gets that earlier bye week. For me, if I was selling Hynes and you need a guy who's playing this week and you want that kind of gun category, it would be Jerome Hughes for me. I think he is the most traded in replacement for Nicho. Yeah, he's the 3rd most traded in player. Meanwhile, Moses is in 6th. That's the reason why. I like that Moses is goal kicking, but I do think that their draw isn't as good as Melbourne's. So I think Melbourne, I really like going for them now for this next kind of 5 to 7 weeks. And, especially if you're partnering him with Eli Katoa, I just really like having that stack of both of them. So that's where I would lean in the Hughes versus Moses, because I think they're the 2 most popular replacements for Nicho this week. SJ was maybe a factor, but he now doesn't play round 14. So he's not one to discuss for this week. Neither is Sam Walker. Sam Walker, if he was playing, because their draw is really good and that he's goal kicking, he probably would have been my number 1, but obviously irrelevant for this week. A couple of other cheaper options, I guess, to consider. So you've got Jack Cole from the Penrith Panthers. So I've got him down for playing 5 of the next 7 weeks. And I'm going to assume that there's going to be some games that Jerome Luai gets rested and doesn't back up from Origin. If you give him a season average of 44, he'll score 220. If you give him a 3-round average of 64, it's 320. So I think Cole is a nice downgrade if you're trying to free up bulk cash to make the upgrade, say, from the... even if you wanted to go like Joe Chan all the way up to Fafita. But I will say there is an element of danger with Cole in that, yes, you'll make money, but he is definitely an inevitable trade out. You will have to eventually sell him, for another replacement halfback like a Cleary or someone else. I guess the same is similar with maybe Moses or Hughes. You might not look at them as season keeper. You might just look at them as someone you hold until you get back Hynes or Cleary. But I feel like with Cole, maybe there's a bit of risk there. And while he had a good score last week and he had a good one the week before, he doesn't play round 16, nor does he play round 19. So for buy coverage as well, it's really not that great. So I'm not personally too keen on Cole. If you want to get a piece of that Melbourne Storm team, but maybe you can't afford to go Hughes, I don't mind Wishart. We spoke about him not last week, but the week before. Put up pretty good numbers when he does play in the starting halves. Put up 60 points, I think, in round 12. So based on his kind of 3-round average of 62, he'd be scoring you about 372 points over this bye period, which is definitely pretty handy. And I think he will play most of those games because Cam Munster looks to be out for a fair while. So for 437k, I like Wishart as a downgrade. Someone I actually haven't got in the table itself. There's two players I haven't got in the table itself. Cody Walker and Tamara Martin. So I was actually looking at Tamara Martin because if I want to go someone like, say, Sean Lane to Fafita is a move I'm looking at. I can't actually afford going Hynes to Hughes, which is annoying. Hughes would be the one I'd want. But I could go Tamara Martin. He's got negative 33 break even. He does play round 16. He doesn't play round 19 though. But pretty decent. It's an okay draw for the Warriors. I guess Cowboys, Melbourne. It's very up and down. Cowboys, Melbourne, Titans, Broncos, Bulldogs, who definitely aren't an easy matchup anymore. But he's averaging 64 for the season. His last 2 weeks have been pretty good. And negative 33 break even. So he was someone I was looking at. The other was Cody Walker. This is really point of difference play, right? But we spoke about the Rabbitohs draw earlier in the stream, and it looks pretty good. Again, maybe there's an argument of, if New South Wales don't play well, does Cody Walker get back into that team? But I think even behind Jerome Luai, I suspect Matt Burton would be the next in line, or Luke Keary, because Luke Keary was 19th man. So I think there's maybe a fair chance that Cody Walker isn't going to be around that origin frame. Plays around 16, plays around 19. It's not a bad run. I'll quickly go back to the Rabbitohs draw just for context, at least for the next few weeks. Yeah, so it's Titans this week, Broncos, Manly in the bye week. Misses round 17. Then it's Parramatta, Dolphins, and then the West Tigers. And again, he won't miss any more games for the rest of the year. So if you had to have Cody Walker for the rest of the year, yes, he's been underwhelming. It's a 54 average for the year, but the last 4 weeks have definitely been better. So I think his season average is 54, but I have a feeling his 3-round or his 5-round is up on that. I think it might be around the 60. So his 3-round average is 64 and his 5-round average is 59. So he's kind of picked it up a little bit in the last few weeks. We know that he can be a Supercoach gun. He has been in the past. We just haven't quite seen it yet this season. But look, he averaged 69 last year. I don't mind taking a punt on someone like a Cody. I can't believe it because I'm even considering it because of the round 16 and the round 19 cover. And I can get Cody because I can move Dylan Brown after my halfback via the duel. So Cody Walker is someone I'm looking at as well. That could even be like a season-long hold, or maybe I eventually flip him to maybe Cam Munster or like a Matt Burton down the track. Burton, I just haven't got on this list because even though he's been really good, he misses round 15 and he'll miss round 16. He'll miss round 19. He misses a fair few games because of Origin, even just being the 18th man. So that's the only reason why I haven't got Burton in this list here. But yeah, those are a couple of other considerations if you're looking in a little bit of a cheaper price category. Cody Walker is one who I'm actually looking at myself, but I do rank Hughes number 1. Moses, even though he is a risk, I think he's probably the number 2 one. Rabbitohs miss round 17. Yes, they do miss round 17. That's right. So that is that mini bye week you will need to be careful of because if I think about my own team at the moment, if I bring in Fafita, if I bring in Cody, and if I brought in Garrick, that's only 3 players I'm missing in that week. It's not the same as this week where a lot of us I'm missing this week Asako, Manu, Dom Young, Sam Walker, Terrell. I'm missing 5 players this week. I would only be missing 3 in round 17. As it potentially stands. So I don't think it'll be as difficult to navigate that round 17 week, but yeah, who knows what happens. Just seeing if there's any questions. If you have Hynes and Cleary, is it worth to hold Hynes instead of Cleary in case he gets dropped? Yeah, I think so. If you're still holding on to Hynes, Cleary, I'd definitely sell Cleary first. Cleary doesn't look like he'll be back until at least round 20, round 19, round 20. So I think you could probably say sell Cleary, hold on to Hynes and see what happens. Because yeah, Hynes is definitely the one you'll want to have for the rest of the year. The two that you've got will be the two that you want for the remainder of the season for the run home, I guess, if they're fit. But Cleary's going to be out for longer, so I'd be selling him first for sure. Is Cole worth the boost? Did into Cole and I use the cash elsewhere next week. I don't think Jack Cole is worth a boost in my opinion. I'd rather go instead for someone who's a little bit more expensive, like maybe even Wishart, if not someone like Tamari Martin, Cody Walker, who are in this like 500k range, who should hopefully still get you enough money, but like if worst comes to worst, they will stay playing for their team for the rest of the year. Like Tamari Martin and SJ will be the halves, I guess until Luke Metcalf comes back, but that could be still a way off. And then Cody Walker's in that Rabbitohs team for the rest of the year. Would I trade SJ instead of Hynes to Hughes and then play Hynes next week and see if he gets picked for 16? I wouldn't sell SJ, I think, just because looks like he's going to be back next week. So I think he looks like he's going to be back next week against Melbourne. So I think if you've got him in your team already, I'd probably just want to hold on. If you're not ready to sell Hynes this week, I think you can just cop the AE for this week. You get a free crack at your vice captain loophole. But yeah, I don't think I'd be looking to sell SJ if I had him at the moment. Thoughts on waiting until after round 15 to sell Hynes, even though he plays Origin for game 2 and game 3. If he plays Origin game 2, game 3, I just think there's too many games to miss. You can obviously wait. You can give him round 15 against the Dolphins. He could go and score 130 and you're laughing. And then in round 16, maybe you sell him. So yeah, no, it's fine. If you can cover it this week, then you can, you can easily hold on to him. Rabbitohs are coming last, ? Yes, they are. But look, I think they've looked better. Who did they beat? I guess they beat the Eels when they didn't have Gutherson or Moses. Look, Supercoach and NRL a little bit different. Latrell Mitchell is the fullback for the team coming dead last in the ladder, and he is averaging 79. So sometimes with Supercoach, it doesn't matter where your team's coming. Like if you're a good Supercoach option, you're fine to be picked. So yeah, I wouldn't stress too much about the where the Rabbitohs are in the ladder for your Supercoach selections. Speaking a little bit about Latrell. So I guess on the fullback chat, so Tool Pro's asking, my thoughts on Latrell. I think Latrell's a perfectly good option. Again, see what happens with the Origin tomorrow in terms of how New South Wales play. But assuming he's not going to be playing for New South Wales this series, I think he would be perfectly good option to trade in. If you're someone who's holding on to Reece Walsh still, if Reece Walsh, my feeling is that Reece Walsh won't play this week. I just don't think they need to risk him. Like they've got Tristan Saylor in the reserves, who's been fine at fullback. They've got Cobbo. He's only coming off the bench of Queensland. He can very easily slot in at fullback as well. I definitely think Walsh, I would lean to Walsh not backing up. And I think at that point, like Walsh will already miss round 16 and he will miss round 19 and he could maybe rest again in round 17 or round 20. So I think I'd be happy to maybe move on Walsh to Latrell. If you like what you see out of that New South Wales performance tomorrow and it doesn't look like Latrell's coming back in, because Walsh isn't going to get dropped from that Queensland team, so there's no risk really with him if he plays poorly. So yeah, Walsh to Latrell is a move I don't mind. It's tough for people who maybe have got Edwards because you just don't know what's happening, because if he's already been named on the extended bench, assuming he hasn't been named for round 14, so I should change his score a little bit, but I've got him down for about 400 points if he plays around 15, 17, 18, and then 20. But I guess this is the big question is, if Teddy plays well and New South Wales win, do you think Edwards is coming back in to that team? I'll throw it to you guys for a bit. Can we go to C and VC options? Yeah, don't worry. We'll definitely get to that shift to pod. No need to spam. I can see you've asked it twice in the last little bit. Yeah, don't stress. We'll get to it for sure. Still got plenty of other things to get to. Also, you look like an Indian alpha. All right. I'll take that. Thank you very much. Aman, do you think Walsh being rested could see Cobbo fullback and Karapani centre? Yes, or they could just put Tristan Saylor to fullback and keep Cobbo in the centres. So it's kind of up in the air, I guess, what happens with that one. But yeah, Dylan Edwards is really tricky. I'm not sure if there's anyone who's asked questions about the fullback about Dylan Edwards, but just for the interest of time, I might skip past this fullback slide soon. But yeah, as I said, Latrell looks a great prospect, and I think see what happens tomorrow with New South Wales and Queensland around Dylan Edwards and Teddy and whatnot, and then maybe this we can revisit on, say, I'm probably not going to be able to do a video on Thursday, but maybe Friday I might try to put out some kind of Q&A or some kind of video with some post-origin updated thoughts and whatnot. So I might skip past this one for the time being, but yes, I do really like Latrell. The only other fullback I'd maybe consider who's guaranteed to play 16 is Charles Cook-Klukstad. He's been averaging 80 and he's only scored, I think, a couple of tries. So he's doing very well. Okay draw, but he's got a really good floor, really good base. So CNK is definitely someone you can also consider in your 17. Yeah, Walsh has been named, but he still could, in the final teams, get cut, and maybe someone like a Tristan Zaylor does come in. Yeah, but it does seem like, the general expectation at the moment is he plays. I mean, if he plays, I wouldn't be selling him, put it that way. Because, look, he's playing at home against the Sharks, who will be without Nicho Hynes, so it could be a good matchup for Walsh. So, yeah, definitely wouldn't sell if he is actually playing in the end. And to answer the question, as Jono says, no way Madge changes up a winning formula. I agree with that too. I think if New South Wales win, I think Teddy's going to be there for game 2. All of a sudden, Dylan Edwards already doesn't play round 16 or round 19, so you could still make an argument that you could sell him for Latrell, free up like 200k, get a guy who's playing round 16 and round 19, and by the time all this buy period is over, if Cleary is back, Dylan Edwards as an option also reduces in kind of standing. So I don't even hate selling Edwards for Latrell this week if you're trying to get your numbers up for this week. So, but let's keep an eye out on any news on him. Guys, I don't have a specific slides on dummy halves or hookers, but I guess, just to rattle off a few, Api Coruscant, I think we've already spoken about with the Tigers. They've got a great long-term run. The only thing I will mention, so I've got him on this slide here, is, so this is around downgrade cheaper options. So, Tobias is asking thoughts on Brendan Hands. I think I wanted to cover a few downgrade options because I think a few of us are looking at them for this week. So with, let me just move this again. So with Coruscant very quickly, so Alexander Lobb has been named on the wing for the Tigers. He's only played the one game so far. It was only I think it was like a 10-minute stint, so he only scored 5 points. But he has been named on the wing, and apparently he's a good goal kicker. I've only just heard this from other people. I haven't watched. I've never seen this guy play. But supposedly he's a goal kicker and not a bad one at that. So that's something that I would be a little bit wary of with Coruscant, is if Lobb comes in and goal kicks, then Coruscant's appeal does get reduced a little bit. You won't obviously find that out until you see them play. So if you don't have a dummy half for this week, you could again just cop an AE. Or otherwise, maybe just take a chance on Coruscant, who's running he's at a pretty good price. He's 515k. Brendan Hands is obviously the big trade-in target for this week at dummy half. So he's the second most traded-in player. He's 246k, 247 I've got. Look, his season average is 22, but 3-round average is 37. Negative 20 break even. I guess the notable things is in his last 2 games, he's had base of 31 and then 55 last week. And that was in a 48 and then an 80-minute performance last week. And I think last year when he played over 70 minutes, so basically any time he was actually playing decent minutes, he was averaging about 50. So he is about a 50 average hooker if he gets the 80 minutes, and we kind of saw that last week as well. So I like him if he gets the minutes. He has been named as the sole hooker again for this week, so that is encouraging. I definitely think he is worth a trade in. If you still own Joey Lussick and you didn't do that trade last week, Lussick down to Hands, 130k. Yes, you might be getting a bit into that whole Parramatta dummy half rotation, which a lot of us have been screwed over throughout the course of this season. But it is Trent Barrett's team now, not Brad Arthur. And I do think Parramatta look better with Brendan Hands as well. So I do think he is a good trade-in. You will make some money out of him. And he doesn't play round 16, but he will play round 19. So he is a handy number for what looks to be the more difficult bye week. So I do think he is a pretty fair trade-in this week. Someone here is asking, so Pablo's asking, he's running a Grant Robson combo. Hooker, would I trade one of the two to Hands? I probably wouldn't. So I think both of these guys could actually back up. So I think the Cowboys actually didn't name, I think it might have been They didn't name Jake Granville, so I think they named someone random at dummy half. Yeah, Sam McIntyre, who I didn't think ever played dummy half. So I think there is maybe a chance that Reece Robson does back up. He will most likely play big minutes for the New South Wales Blues tomorrow, but I think he is someone who is worth potentially looking at as an option to hold. And then I think Harry Grant, if you've got him, you keep him. So I wouldn't sell actually either of the two. But yeah, so Brendan Hands, I do like. Reed Miney, a pod. Reed Miney is definitely a pod. He's an expensive one at that. I think he's like over 600k. But yes, if you're looking for a dummy half over this Origin period, he won't play Origin. I think he's a Queenslander, so he definitely probably won't play Origin because of Ben Hunt and Harry Grant. He's 645k. Yeah, look, he plays this week. He plays round 16, misses round 19. But look, he has been putting up some good scores. 5-round average of 68, 3-round average of 72, a season average of 67. I just don't think I can knock the buy anymore. He's putting up good numbers. Granville tore his bicep. Okay, thank you, Hamish, for the context. Any love for DWZ? I do have another slide on center wing as well, so we'll quickly get onto that after this. But yeah, in terms of other downgrades, so there's Kelma Tuolangi from the Eels. He's played the last 2 games, starting edge, played 74 and 80 minutes, 65 and 55 in base power. So pretty good numbers. I mean, we have been sucked in by Tuolangi before, so I'm not sure how keen I am to just jump straight back into him. He does have a negative break even, but signs are looking good. 3-round average of 56. I just don't know if I personally can stomach going to him knowing that he's burnt us in the past, but I think if you're looking for a downgrade at second row forward, maybe you're looking to increase your depth and you want to get rid of Joe Chan. Again, the Eels play round 19. That is going to be a difficult week to cover. So I don't mind going someone like Tuolangi for Joe Chan. I know you're not freeing up a lot of money, but you are getting some better depth. Because the way it looks like with Parramatta, Tuolangi's staying in that role. And with Ryan Madison, unfortunately, what looks to be happening with him, that doesn't seem to be something that he very easily can recover from. I mean, he could recover from it fast because, I don't know, have any reason for it, but it's like dizziness and stuff. And we know Madison does have a history of experiencing like headaches and issues when he's gotten concussions. So I don't mind Tuolangi. Samuel Lafinu, we've spoken about him already at the beginning of the stream. I think he's a really solid option. Not quite the cheapest at 415k, but like the dual, playing every game all the way up until round 26. Good price, locked in for 80 minutes by the look of it. I think he's a very, very solid purchase as a downgrade option for this week. Other one could be Justin Matamua from the West Tigers. So he's got a 2 break even. His only game playing at starting 13, which was last round 12. He played 45 minutes for 44 points in 40 in base. So pretty good. He's only played the 1 game so far though, if I'm not mistaken. So you don't have to rush to him this week. You can get another week and see what happens, ideally. He actually has already played 2 games. So he would be changing in price for the first time this week. But he's only 239k. So again, he could be another one to try to downgrade to potentially if you don't want Tuolangi. Is Tuolangi 355k? Okay, I might have gotten his price from last week. Sorry about that. Yeah, okay, you're right. Sorry, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, okay, so he's 354k. Yeah, okay. That makes him a bit less appealing because it's not quite a downgrade from Joe Chan anymore. It's still not a bad price, but yeah, okay. That probably rules, in my head anyway, that probably rules him out of my own consideration. A couple of other cheapies. We've already spoken about Jack Cole. Lehigh Hopewati. Is it Lehigh or Lehi? I'm not sure. But he's been named at fullback for Manly. He's only available at fullback though in SuperCoach. So I think he's not probably an option. And then you've got Lob from the West Tigers, but you don't need to rush to him. I guess if you are looking for a bottom dollar centre wing this week, the best looking one was going to be Karapani from the Broncos. So he had a negative 73 break even. I guess see if you can be flexible and wait until that Broncos team, because if Reece Walsh doesn't play, then maybe Cobbo goes to fullback, and then maybe Karapani comes into the team. But until then, we just don't know yet. I guess the thing with him is he would likely nuff out. Sorry, autocorrect says he would likely buff out. Not correct. He would likely nuff out. Excuse me. But yeah, those are a few downgrade options to consider. Braden saying, is Kelma sideways trade from Sam Hughes via duels? Haven't really spoken about Sam Hughes. I don't know. it does feel sideways. And I mean, look, Kelma is putting up good numbers the last 2 weeks. So I think objectively right now, yes, I would prefer Tuolangi to Sam Hughes. I just don't know if I'd want to use a trade though. That's the only thing. Bit of a cop-out answer. But yeah, if you like what you're seeing from Kelma, you want that round 19 cover because Bulldogs don't have that, then yeah, I don't mind that maybe as an option. Very quickly in terms of centre wing, I don't think there's a lot of chat actually about the gun centre wings this week, so I probably will not speak too much about it. I guess the only thing I will say is if you are looking at gun centre wings, someone like a Val Holmes, I do think I'm expecting him to back up. So definitely don't think I'd be looking to sell over the next few weeks. The only other one I'd mention is Ruben Garrick. Spoke about him a little bit earlier. Playing round 16, playing round 19, a pretty good draw, a very good draw actually after Penrith. I would definitely be looking to prioritise him. You don't have to do him this week because of Penrith, but definitely next week I think he'll be someone who 100% will be very high up on a lot of people's target lists. A few other pod kind of centre wings I wanted to mention. So I think someone earlier was asking about mid-range centre wing. So the four that I've got here are Micah Sevo, Brian Kelly, Nick Meaney, and Dallin Muteni-Zalesniak. So Micah Sevo, it was only until I listened to the Bloke podcast that I realized he is the top try scorer of the season. And he's averaging 70 in SuperCoach, and he's got like a 3-round average of 81, which is ridiculous. He plays round 19. It's not a terrible draw. You know, Newcastle, Rabbitohs, Titans in round 17 to 19. So he could be a bit of a pod option. I think at 640k though, he's too expensive for me. I think I'd be going... Oh, actually, you know what? I think I'd take Mike Siva over Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is good in that he plays 6 of the next 7. Good Titans draw. I've got him down for 378 points over the next 7 weeks. Nick Meaney, again, he also plays 6 games. I'd actually probably take Nick Meaney over Brian Kelly just because of the goal kicking. And again, thinking about that right-hand side of the Storm, I think he'll benefit on that front. So I like Nick Meaney probably a little bit over Kelly because of the goal kicking. My personal favourite in terms of a value option is DWZ. So he's 452k now. He's got a 32 break even. So you'd think he's almost bottomed out in price. I think covers round 16 against the Titans. I like him maybe as a bit of an option. Let's say I think the scenario is someone like David Armstrong. So I'm just checking. So the Warriors. Okay, this is not ideal. So the Warriors actually play before the Knights. What I was going to suggest was that if Armstrong was a late out, you could trade someone like an Armstrong to DWZ to get the number for this week. But Armstrong does have a break even of 12, so he should still make some money. But someone like an Armstrong, I can definitely see myself switching to a DWZ. You know, he could be like the perfect bottomed out gun. The Warriors have got a lot of players coming back. They'll get SJ back next week. They've got AFB back. They've got Toru Harris back. They've got CNK back. So maybe they get back into that team that we saw from last year. And in terms of a end of season run, it's pretty good actually. After this Melbourne game around 15, they don't verse anyone really that tough until the Sharks around 26, but they do have that bye in round 27. So yeah, don't hate DWZ as an option for this week if you are looking to cash in someone. Like let's say Blaise Talangi, who's been named this week. He's got a negative 20 break even, I think, from memory. He should still make a bit of money over the next 2 weeks, and then you can cash him into like a DWZ in a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's the kind of move I quite like as well. I do think that it is a bit too early to nuff, just taking Charlie Wilkinson's question here. I just still think we're at a point in the season where we need to try to have as many numbers as possible. I'd be maybe looking at nuffing round 19 probably at the earliest, I reckon. Alright, so we'll get onto captaincy chat now. Toolpro's asking, is Lussick dropped or injured? I think he's just been dropped. Don't think I've heard anything about an injury. Val Holmes is missing from the bottom table. Yes, he is. Thank you for pointing that out right off into the sunset. Either way, I think, look, someone like a Val, like, if I remember correctly, if he backs up all of the Origin games, he misses 13, 16, and he misses 16 and 19. So he plays 5 of the next 7. So based on his 80 score, he's getting 400 points, which is still on par with a lot of these other guys. So yeah, for me, Val is still a hold, that's for sure. So there you go, right off into the sunset. You've got Valheim's predicted points over the next 5 weeks. AJ Pod centre wing. Is that AJ Alex Johnston or is it AJ Brimson? Alex Johnston could be a pod centre wing for sure. You know, we've spoken a lot about some Rabbitohs players so far this year. I haven't looked at him once this year because he's been injured for a long part of it too. 498k with a 74 break even. Oof. He could be very tempting. I just don't think the Rabbitohs are going to be that attacking team that we've seen in the last few years, which is going to make AJ as like viable as I think we had in the previous seasons. So, like cheaper price, I'd probably prefer DWZ. In terms of captaincy this week, I actually found it really tough to think about who are the best captains for this week. So, like I've got Lomax, for example, as my VC, but that was putting him just because there wasn't many in that first game of the Dragons versus the West Tigers. I've got Lomax in case he backs up. I think he will back up given that he's only playing on the wing for New South Wales, although he could make a bunch of meters. If you've got other players, I don't mind even like a Lockie Galvin VC, just to get VC. This is why Fafita and Latrell are both looking very tempting this week. I do think that they've got the best matchup of the Rabbitohs versus the Titans. Fafita is such a safe VC option this week. And because this is the week where a lot of us are short on players, you can very easily just lock in like 90 plus points for a vice captain. Fafita gets 90 points in his sleep at times. So Rabbitohs have been the sixth worst at defending opposition second row forward as well. So yeah, someone like a Fafita I think is a very, very strong vice captain option. You could even just straight captain him. I think if you had both the Fafita and Latrell, you could VC one of the two. Latrell's probably got slightly higher ceiling, but he's playing away. I'd say Fafita playing at home, point to prove, maybe not being named for Queensland. Yeah, look, he looks like someone who, I mentioned it before, but I know he could be a risk of coming back into that Queensland team, but I'm terrified of not owning him. And I think if I want to enjoy this game, I think I need Fafita in my team. So my trades this week will probably revolve around trying to get Fafita in my team. And it could be for selling Sean Lane just because he's been relegated to the bench and I just don't like having him in my team anymore. But yeah, those two definitely are the strong shouts. The other games that kind of stood out to me were the Cowboys game, playing at home to the Warriors. So I've got Drinkwater at the moment in my team currently as the captain, mainly just because the Warriors have conceded a lot of points to opposition fullbacks so far this year. They've been 7th worst over the season long. Jerome Hughes looks pretty good against the Knights at home. Newcastle have been 7th worst at conceding points to opposition halfbacks. Someone in the chat is actually mentioning Eli Katoa. I don't mind him either. So Newcastle have actually been the worst team at defending opposition second row forward. So take that stat and run with it into the wind if you're buying Eli Katoa this week. Yeah, I don't actually mind him as an option. That actually might make me rethink. I might actually go VC Drinkwater and captain Katoa. So I don't hate that as an option. If you've got like a Kolomatangi, you can chuck a VC on him as well. The other matchup, like there's Penrith versus Manly, but like Garrick, for example, like Garrick is always an option, but just like when it's Penrith away, even if it's Penrith without Origin players, I just don't like putting anything on players who play that kind of tough matchup. Probably someone I did overlook actually is Matt Burton, so thank you Murray here for mentioning this. So yeah, I had Karaz as a potential captain option late in the round on the Monday, given that he's been named on the wing again. I think someone was asking this earlier. I think Karaz will play on the right-hand side because I have seen Blake Wilson last year playing on the left wing. I think Wilson is going to take Adokar's left wing, and then I think Karaz will sit on the right wing. Excuse me, I just need to put my charger into the laptop. Alright, we're back. I was on about 2% battery, 7% battery I was on. Sorry, my voice is also going a little bit. Yeah, so I think Moses is also a shout potentially this week, but Bulldogs have been very good defensively, so I don't love that as well either for this week. Someone's asking about Dom Young out for Drinkwater. I don't think I'll be doing that move for sure. Dom Young for me is a season keeper. Dom Young or Lomax to sell. Oh, if I had to sell, I mean, if there's one I wanted for the rest of the year, it'd probably be Dom Young again. AFB pod captain. Yes, because the Cowboys have actually conceded a lot of points to middles this season, so I don't mind AFB. I can definitely see him scoring a try this week. So, yeah, I don't actually hate that as a shout. Raining in Sydney this weekend. Yeah, we're going to have a quick look at the forecast. Yeah, it's going to be rain. Sunday looks very sunny, so I don't know who plays on Sunday in Sydney, but yeah, Friday and Saturday look like there's a bit of rain around. So, again, if you're thinking of Fifita playing in the Gold Coast, just going to have a quick look for the Gold Coast weather. Don't have it saved on my phone. Oh, no, I do. Gold Coast on... When do the Titans play? On Saturday, 3 p.m. 21 and sunny. Oh, bloody hell. Nice conditions for Fifita to just palm off a few blokes, get 20 tackle busts and score a try, isn't it? Yeah, Fifita and Latrell are the ones who I'm looking at as the best targets. Drinkwater's good. Burton is good as well against Parramatta. I mean, Parramatta have been so much better when Moses and Gutherson are back in that team. So, but Burton's goal kicking, so I think he's probably safe for like 70 to 80. Karaz, we know, is always safe for like 45 to 50, even if they haven't, even if he hasn't scored a try. And yes, Bruno saying, yeah, Cowboys also conceded 110 to Terrell. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, don't hate the AFB shout. Aman talks weather forecast. Thank you, Jacob. Hamish saying Troll on a flat track. Yeah. One of Fifita or the Troll would 100% be getting a VC or C for me this week. If I bring in Fifita this week, which I think I'm talking myself into it, I will most likely just chuck a VC on him. And I'll probably keep a captaincy on like a Drinkwater or on like a Karaz or Eli Katoa and then see what happens. But if Fifita gets like, say, 95 plus, I'm locking that in this kind of a week where you can probably get a free loop. All right, guys, that's pretty much all I had for the pre-scheduled stuff. I will very quickly show you my team, although I will preface that my trades are completely up in the air because, as I've said so many times this stream, so much depends on Origin. So hopefully you can see that. We are also like an hour, 10 minutes into the stream, so it's been going quite a while. So do please give the stream a like, guys, if you are enjoying it. Fingers crossed. Internet has been good for the majority of the stream, which is awesome. Just the beginning was a little bit dicey. So in terms of my team at the moment, I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So at the moment, I've only got 15 active players. I guess Sam Hughes will come in as an AE, so I've got 16. So I'm one short if you count Sam Hughes as an AE, but don't love him as an option. So I think I'm leaning towards doing 2 trades this week. And I'm fingers crossed that Val Holmes backs up. If Val Holmes backs up and I make my 2 trades, I should be fine for numbers for this particular week. So what I'm thinking of doing this week was, see, I would ideally love to get rid of Lussick. So what I was thinking initially was maybe I don't get in Fifita this week and maybe I just let it be. Maybe I just skip him versus the Rabbitohs, although I don't love the sound of that. But, I could get someone like maybe Brendan Hands in for Lussick, and then maybe for Hynes, I'd free up, say, who would I get? Jerome Hughes. That's probably the guy who I'd be getting. So I would have 474k in the bank. Annoyingly, Sean Lane's got a break even of like 63. And so at the moment, Sean Lane to Fifita, I can do with 8k spare. But I don't think next week I'll be able to afford it. So I'd have to make another downgrade elsewhere. I don't know if I want to be burning all of those trades. So instead, what I was thinking was, this is a little bit off the rails, but, not Jerome Hughes. What I was thinking was maybe flipping Dillbags to halfback. Maybe getting one of Tamara Martin or Cody Walker. Could get Cody Walker, who knows? And then that gives me enough money to go Sean Lane to Fifita with 15k in the bank. So I'm compromising a little bit and probably not getting the guy who I actually want in halfback, which is Jerome Hughes. It'd be getting Cody Walker. I'm still stuck with Lussick, but that might just be what I'd have to do for this week. But look, these are my early trade thoughts. I won't spend too much more time on it just because so much is dependent on what happens in State of Origin, and I'll definitely let you guys know what my updated thoughts are after tomorrow's game. Apologies, guys. I know there's a lot of questions coming in, but I think we're pretty comprehensive, hopefully, during the stream in answering a lot of those. So I think I'm probably going to wrap up the stream there. Apologies, my throat is also going as well. Jacob, yes, I did definitely talk about Hynes earlier in the stream. No Hughes. Yeah, look, Jerome Hughes would be my preferred. If I got Hughes, this is the problem. I'm 100. I'd have to sell like Terrell May to get Fafita. I could sell Nicho again, but I got him for around 19 cover. Yes, I could get Tyron Wishart. Wishart could be the one. So instead of compromising on going Cody Walker, I could just get Wishart. I guess the thing with Wishart is that, yes, he's cheap, but he will eventually be a trade out when Munster eventually comes back. Whereas Cody Walker at least plays for the entire of the season. So yeah. Anyway, that's some of my early thoughts for this week. A lot still to go under the bridge for tomorrow. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream there. Thank you all for tuning in. Please do give the stream a like on the way out. It does really help me out. And thank you everyone for sticking through those initial dicey minutes where the internet was a little bit iffy, but I think it's been pretty good since then. So very thankful for that. But thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll catch you on another live stream. So it's a little bit weird this week because Monday, there's a game on Monday. So I'm not sure if I'll actually do a stream on the Sunday. I might just do like some intermittent wrap-ups during the weekend. And I'll try to give some updated trade and question thoughts on Friday, probably. Thursday I'll be a bit busy, but maybe Friday I might be able to. But in any case, hit me up on the socials. Follow me on Instagram. I'm putting a lot more stuff on there. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, etc. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Give the stream a like on the way out. Very much appreciated. And see you all in the next one.